Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first story is titled, Tesco Manager Mistook Me for an Employee. About 14 years ago, when Reliance Security provided security for Tesco stores, I also worked for Reliance, but was based at the airport. One morning, after a 12-hour night shift, I decided to go into a Tesco store that I pass on the way home and get a sandwich. I had my work uniform on, but I was wearing a gray jacket on top so people would know I'm not on duty. So I go into the store and pick up a basket and headed to the sandwich counter, and I'm browsing the selection. I hear someone say, "Excuse me." But not expecting anyone to be talking to me, I carry on looking for my desired sandwich. Then suddenly, the basket is slapped out of my hand, and there's this snarling man's face less than an inch from mine, and he says, "I'm not paying you to shop. Get to the front of the store right now." So I'm tired and very confused and can only muster the reply, "What?" He said, "I told you to get to the front doors. We've been open for customers for the last 30 minutes, and you've not been at your position once, and now I find you buying snacks." That's when the penny dropped, and I simply replied, "I know the store's open to customers. I am one. I work for the same company who provides security, but I am not your guard." With those words ringing in his ears, all the color in his face drained away when he realized what he had just done to a customer. Suddenly, he became completely apologetic and said if there was anything he could do for me, he would gladly help. I informed him I would like help carrying my basket around the store, as I was tired from a long night shift, and he replied he would get someone to help me immediately. And I told him I did not want someone else to carry my basket, I wanted him to carry it. So I originally only intended on buying a sandwich, but to teach this guy a lesson, I spent 30 minutes in the store and went in every aisle. The next story is titled, I Hope I Ruined Someone's Video. Last night I was at a Halloween-themed event parade and enjoying myself. We had a front row seat to a very long parade and got there extremely early. I'm very short, so this was important to me to be able to see. The parade starts, and it's all fun when a woman from behind the crowd shoved me and went in front of me off the sidewalk and started filming the parade, completely blocking my view. She would scream at the parade people to make them wave at her, and I missed about a quarter of the show because of her. I'm really shy in life and usually not that angry. But the 2-hour-long wait boiled my anger, and I started thinking about how I could ruin her video. I started yelling swear words with a sexual nature, and she didn't notice at first until I yelled, "Lady with the blonde hair in front of me just said she likes weird kinks." She turned around and told me, "Seriously? I'm filming here." I replied, "Go to another spot because I won't stop." She started to yell, but the parade security came to tell her to go back on the sidewalk. No one was letting her back on the sidewalk where I was. I hope my voice comes through on most of her videos and she can't show them to anyone. I'm a bit proud for standing up for myself for once. I'm also glad there were no kids around me, just teens. I did check before I did it. The next story is titled, Weird Girl Gets Perfect Vengeance. I was made fun of often in school. I moved to my district in 6th grade, and all the way through senior year, I was hardcore bullied. Not just by only girls, but guys bullied me too. For some reason, it hurt more when girls did it. Not gonna lie, they probably had some pretty good reasons. I've always had ASD and was diagnosed with Asperger's when I was 9. Needless to say, I might have been a little strange, LOL. Okay, I was a total freak, but that's besides the point. 4 years into relentless bullying, we did frog dissections in biology, and we had an extra credit session over lunch where we could opt to take out the brain. Extra credit to anyone who got it out whole. Well, I got bored during the dissection. My frog was already finished, and I'd been going to other tables and cutting theirs for them too. Like I said, I was weird. So in my boredom, I stabbed my frog in the eye, and a tiny little ball popped out. It looked like a ball of silica or something. Intrigued, I ran all over the class taking out the eyeballs of every frog there. Then my weird ass was carrying them around, inspecting them, and playing with them. So after lunch, we have ninth grade gym, which was swimming. My monthly friend was in town, so I was out of the pool that day. So I'm sitting by the pool, minding my own business, playing with these frog eyeballs, and some girl in the pool is like, "Hey, my name, what's in your hand?" And the other girls start answering, "Dude, she took all the eyes from frogs in bio. Ooh, what a freak. Like, seriously, why aren't you in a psych hospital, psycho? Hey, my name, you're fucking weird," etc. So I'm sitting there with a handful of eyeballs stolen from science frogs, and in my greatest comeback ever, I say I may be weird, but I'm not swimming with frog eyes. These girls are apparently kind of slow, so they're like, what? My hand comes up, and I let loose the eyeballs of no less than 34 frogs straight into the pool. Now, I want you to imagine this. Pool full of 14-year-old girls who are all pretty prissy princess types. They watch as whatever is in my hand flies into the air, and the tiny frog eyes drop into the pool scattered like raindrops. A second passes. Instant pandemonium. Girls screaming and swimming as fast as they can to the pool's edge. Girls pulling other girls' hair, and bathing suits trying to get out before them. Girls crying, pulling out flip phones to call their parents. Girls dry heaving at the edge of the pool. You get the picture? It was such a scene that even the boys' gym teachers and the health teachers came running. I was sent to the principal. I'm pretty sure I got a detention for that, but still to this day, that scene is one of my favorites and most hilarious memories. I wish I could have recorded it, but recording sucked in 1997 unless you had an actual camcorder. What do you think? Did I go too far? Hell no. Those idiots deserved it. The next story is titled, Karen Slaps Army Veteran on a Mountain, Throws His Prosthetic Leg Down the Mountain. Sometimes life can surprise you, or better said, people can. And today, I want to tell the story of how I went from a people lover to an antisocial. Not to exaggerate or anything, but I used to think that I can never meet a bad person. I truly believe that everyone had a good part. But I was proved wrong. Let me tell you a little backstory about myself. I was in the Air Force for many years, and honestly, I was the kind of guy that some people referred to as a lifer, meaning that I loved my job and was going to do it for my entire life. That got cut short, though, when some things happened over the last tour, which was meant to be simple evacuations. We got caught in some trouble, and I got hurt badly. The medical over there isn't like going to a hospital here, so they weren't able to save my leg. I had to retire and learn how to use a prosthetic leg. I'm a guy that doesn't do anything half-assed, though, and after many years of practice, can walk on it seemingly perfect. I wanted to do something really nice with my wife, and we decided to go on a little vacation in the mountains. We found a hotel that offered a little hike program, a place to sleep, food, and everything. Nothing too extreme, as I wasn't trying to lose my other leg too. But something friendly for my situation, more like a beginner route. The weather was amazing, and the smell of trees and soil was filling my nose. We stayed at a little hotel that was in a cabin. The cabin was in the middle of the forest, and it had everything we needed. Of course, the good always has to come with the bad, and that meant there was a woman that seemed to complain about every single thing. I have no idea what her name is, but based on her behavior, I'm going to call her Karen. I assume everybody here is familiar with knowing what that entails at this point. At lunch, she complained about the food, then about the pattern on the plates, and then also about the spoons and forks. We did our best to ignore and avoid her because I wanted to have a good time. For almost the entire stay we did, and didn't let things we heard Karen saying in the background bother us. It wasn't until we went outside on the porch where there was a table with a few chairs, hot wine, and cookies. We sat down and a young couple joined us and we started talking to them. From one thing to another, I started talking about how I lost my leg in the Air Force, that Karen seemed to come out of nowhere. Karen, please, you probably just want people to feel bad for you with that story. Me, I'm sorry? Karen, you heard what I said. I know what people in the military look like, and it's definitely not you. Wife, why don't you do everybody here a favor and mind your own business? You haven't shut your mouth since you came here. Karen, oh, I see. You like the lies your husband tells. I saw him walking, and one person without a leg doesn't walk like that. Me, sorry to dare, but do you have a prosthetic leg? Karen, no, but what does that have to do with what I'm telling you? Me, it does, because if you don't have one, you can't tell me how I can or can't walk. That's the moment she stepped closer to me and slapped me. My wife wanted to slap her back, but I stopped her because I don't want to start a fight with Karen, especially since I knew she had been drinking. I was never going to see this woman again in my life anyway. We were programmed to leave the cabin in a few hours too, so it was not worth the effort. I just tried to ignore her and change the subject with the guy I was talking to. He was amazed at how crazy she seemed, and my wife looked ready to pounce on her. My wife doesn't get upset by too many things, but people messing with me is one thing that she just can't stand. She also served and knows how badly injured vets get treated. I pointed out something and we started looking at that. The guy was very curious about my leg as he had never seen a prosthetic leg before. He was very polite and nice about it, and I also didn't mind. I think it's important that people know and see these kinds of things. Karen ran over, and now I'm just going to summarize what she said. She said she knew I didn't have a prosthetic and admitted to thinking that all of them were just metal and basically looked like a robot leg. We were all on our chairs at the table looking at each other and then at her. Karen, it's just a plastic mold or something or dough that you put on your real leg. I looked at her in shock as I couldn't believe she would seriously think that. I couldn't help myself, so I laughed. Me, I've never heard anything like this before. She ran towards me, ripped off my leg, and threw it over the veranda. We could all hear and see the leg tumbling down on the slide. My wife ran and looked for it, then looked at me and nodded a no. When I looked back at Karen, I saw her looking at my leg, shocked. I expected an apology, but looking back, I don't know why I thought I would get one. Instead, she started blaming me somehow, and it was my fault that she ended up doing it. Karen, if you wouldn't have bragged about it, this would have never happened. My wife helped me get up and get ready. We called a car and went at the foot of the mountain where I called the police. I explained everything, and they decided we should all go back to the cabin and talk to everyone there. Of course, Karen denied, even if everyone was supporting me. After a while, she admitted what she did, but she kept blaming it on me. In the meantime, some policemen searched for my leg, but it was nowhere to be found. Policeman, it could be anywhere. It's full of ravines here. I informed Karen that I was going to sue her, and that she would have to pay me for the leg, which was $5,000. Karen was speechless when she found out, and part of me hoped she didn't have the money and might go to jail. A payment plan was worked out, though, and I was able to get the replacement leg without issue. Going backwards to that day, though the police did arrest her for taking my leg by force and practically destroying it. My point, and the only point of this story, is that disability comes in all shapes and sizes. Some are visible, some are not. The most important message I want to tell people, though, is that not all prosthetics look the same, and please do not throw them because they are expensive. TLDR. I'm on a boat tour, and Karen overhears me talk about my prosthetic leg I lost while serving in the Air Force. She tells me that I'm lying, and I try to brush her off and ignore her. Later, when I show someone my leg, she decides it's just a plastic molding, and my real leg is underneath. She rips it off and throws it into the river. I also sue her, and she ends up having to pay $5,000 so that I can get a replacement leg for the one she decided to throw overboard. She tells me that I am lying. She slaps me, and I try to brush her off and ignore her. Later, when someone asks to see my leg, Karen pulls my leg off and throws it over the veranda. The police come and questions everyone, and she gets arrested. I also sue her, and she ends up having to pay $5,000 so that I can get a replacement leg. The last story is titled, Where Do You Want It? My wife bought a Chase Lounge from Marketplace, borrows my truck to get it. The woman who sold it to her gave her the legs but said not to put them on until it's inside our house because it won't fit through the door with them on. We go to assemble it, and the holes that the legs screw into are completely stripped and broken. Woman blocks my wife, so I drove back with the furniture after looking up her house via public tax records. I back into the driveway and begin placing the chair on the ground. She angrily comes running out yelling, "No returns." The argument leads to her agreeing to refund me as long as I help her by carrying it into her garage. I agree, but then she throws the $50 at my feet, muttering something about being a cheap son of a bitch. I got my money off the ground, drove out the driveway about 80 feet long with the furniture. I dropped the couch as far from her house as possible and blocked anyone else from pulling into the driveway. I can still hear her screaming and love the part where she threw her flip-flop at my truck as I sped off. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again.